Municipal Clerk. Today, I'm going to open your meeting and explain the process in this new virtual world. At this time, we will move forward with the agenda. As you can see, voting procedures and such are going to be more challenging. So what I'm going to do is ask for someone to put forward the motion and second it. And unless you're opposed to the motion and state that, otherwise the motions will be considered carried. So again, welcome to the meeting, and I believe everyone's in attendance. At this time, does anyone have any amendments or any considerations for the agenda before you? If so, just if you could bring that forward. Okay, not seeing or hearing that, then I'd like to call someone to for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion if you like, Pat.
Okay, Miles, is anyone else willing to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Joan. Unless we've got someone willing or wanting to oppose that, we'll consider that motion carried. At this time, I'd like to call forth on anyone that determines whether or not they would have any declaration of pecuniary interest at this time. If so, if you would like to state that. Hearing none, then I think we'll move forward with the election of a chairperson. At this time, the process would be that I will call for nominations 3 times. If someone has an individual that they would like to nominate, that would be appreciated. We will ask that person if they're willing to let their name stand. And if they are, that will be considered. Again, I will call for nominations 2 more times, being 3. At the end of that, we'll bring forth a motion nominating an individual to the chairperson role. And then we can hand the meeting over to the chairperson, who then can move forward with the vice chair. Okay. So at this time, we'll move forward with the election of chairperson. And for the first time, I'm calling for nominations for a chair for the North Perth Cemetery Board. Do we have any suggestions?
Hello, Pat. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I had computer problems this morning, so I had a problem logging on.
Yep, no, we can see and hear you, Bruce.
Okay, great.
Okay, calling for the first nomination.
I would nominate Bruce.
Thank you, Miles. Bruce, are you willing to let your name stand?
Yes, I would be willing to let my name stand.
So I'm now calling for nominations a second time. Hearing none, and I'm calling for nominations a third time. And of course, my phone's going to ring, but not hearing any other nominations, then Bruce is willing to let his name stand. At this point, can I have someone move that Bruce Wilkin would be the chairperson for the North Perth Cemetery Board? Can I have someone move that motion?
I'll move the motion.
Thank you, Joan, and a seconder.
I'd second.
Second, Pat?
Okay, that was Miles, I believe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone opposed to this motion? Hearing none, then Bruce, you are now the new chairperson for the North Perth Cemetery Board. And at this time, I would be happy to hand that role over to you. Prior to that, I was just going to make a comment that we have heard and we are anticipating the resignation of Pat Demerling. So Pat is not on the screen with us today. Having said that, we also have received an application for someone that's quite interested in sitting on the board. So you will hear and see that happening through North Perth Council as soon as all the paperwork has come into place, just so that you're aware of that. I'm personally going to stay online with you today, and I'll keep moving forward your agenda and the documents as you see them on the screen. However, I am going to mute myself, and unless I hear that you've got any issues, at this time, Bruce, I'm going to hand this meeting over to you as the chair, and I am willing to assist you along the way, so I will be listening.
Okay, thanks
Bruce, I'll
very
let you
much.
take it. You're welcome.
And good morning, everyone.
Morning, Bruce.
Okay, I guess the first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Could I have someone move that?
I move we approve the previous meeting minutes.
Okay, thanks very much, Joan. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Miles? Any discussions on the minutes? Any corrections or amendments? Hearing none, I assume that everything's good. So I guess now we'll move on to Cremation Gardens Phase 3 update. If we could have an update from that.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Good to see everyone on the screen this morning, and so thankful to Pat for having helped with, moving these screens forward and sharing them, because it's a bit of a complicated manner to do it. So we did send a picture of the cremation gardens to you. It was attached to your agenda, and you might have it in front of you, or you might have been able to take a look at it. I just wanted to let you know that the base of all of that has been.
Whoa.
That was loud.
Hi. I had put myself on mute and that kept resounding. So just double check that we're all on mute. I'm not sure if that will affect things as I speak, but make sure you're on.
I'm not sure what's causing that, Lyndon.
I'm not either.
Bonnie, is Simon around that he can maybe assist with this, or?
Yeah, I just was gonna go tell him I need him.
Ask that everyone go on mute. If you have mute buttons, okay, that might work better. Okay, great. So there's the picture in front of us of the cemetery phasing. Now, after we spoke, we did take a look at the design, and you can see that there's two circles. It means that there could potentially be two columbariums that would be installed in the location. We put the sidewalk in for the first leg, or the first part of it, and that's the one closest to the road. And I'll let Kevin talk a little bit about what the plans are for this summer. We are looking at delivery of the columbarium that has been delayed due to the lockdown. So we're talking to them every couple of weeks about when delivery can happen for the columbarium to be installed. The platforms all there. So maybe, Kevin, if you want to just touch base on what we're planning to do.
Okay, thanks, Lyndon. Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
you can. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to put a flower bed right along the road. We're going to try and make it look as much like the existing columbarium area as we can, so that they kind of are mimic each other or are similar. So we're going to put a couple flower beds around it, get the grass planted, and basically it's set up ready to go. I think we're going to try and clear a little bit of the grass right along the boulevard and put some gravel in there so that there's 2 or 3 parking spaces as well. Not the public works will have to do that, but other than that, we've also removed quite a bunch of flat marker variables in that area because they're not going to be used as regular burials anymore now that we have the columbarium there. We may at some point put some cremation, small 4x4, 4-foot or 1 meter by 1 meter cremation graves around the columbariums, but I think we'll wait till we see that we need them, and that maybe by the time we do the second columbarium in that area, that would be the time to do it then. Other than that, I think it's pretty straightforward. The columbarium that's coming is a 72 niche, which is the same as the last one we put in, which is the closest to Mackenzie Street, and should look identical to that. That's about all I've got there. Thanks.
So we're just doing the first phase for now, is that correct, Bruce?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
It does allow us to have obviously double the cremation capacities, and Kevin's got some projections for you coming up later in the agenda where we'll talk about what capacity we have and why we need to install now. So that's really the overview. It's gone quite well, and we'll be updating as we do the install this spring.
So is there an actual date on when it comes in?
No, there is no date because of the COVID delay. We're keeping in touch
okay.
with them. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Linda.
If it's done anywhere what the other one is, it'll look smart, that's for sure.
Yes, I think we'll be very pleased with the look of it once it gets installed.
Yep.
I think it's a perfect location for it. And okay, go ahead. Okay, if there's no more discussion on that, we'll move over to the cemetery plots available. And I imagine Kevin's going to go through that.
Yes, that's on the screen right now, or you may have printed off a copy of it. It's just a rough calculation of what we sold this year and what we've sold in the past 7 years. So if you start at the top, we still have about 700 casket graves available that can be sold as multiple graves together. We've got still about 238 single graves throughout the whole cemetery. The casket graves that can be sold as doubles or triples or quadruples or whatever are basically all in section D. There's a couple other ones way at the back in A, but very few. The flat marker graves, those are the ones that we've taken quite a bunch out because of the new columbarium space. So we still have 107 of those, but I sell very few of those. Usually those are just ones that if the funeral home calls me and tells me to pick a grave, those are the ones I pick because they don't sell very well. The Imperial Columbarium, that's the latest one that's put in. We still have 26 niches available out of 72, so it's more than half sold, or 2/3 sold out, and that's why we're putting the new one in. So the new one will give us another 72 niches, so that'll help us getting close to 100 niches available. The Dome Columbarium was the original one, and it's completely sold out. And then we have a couple of the smaller little pedestal and estate columbariums available yet, and we didn't order any this time around. I don't sell a lot of those either, so and there's something that we can order at any time. They just take a small foundation that I can put in myself, and that's not a problem if we needed some quickly. And then below that is the sales for the last 7 years. This year we had 30 grave sales, like lot sales, and 7 niche sales, which is pretty much average to what it's been over the last 4 or 5 years. Other than that, now we're getting a lot of burials coming in because of COVID, and we're trying to proceed with them if we can. The BAO has directed us to try and get as many burials done as we can get done safely. So as long as we don't get any more snow and we can continue to get at them, I'm trying to get them to the ground. If they're on the sides of hills or something like that, I'm not going to be able to, and we'll have to put them in storage, but we're trying to avoid that if we can, because we have no idea what kind of numbers we're going to get. But I had a couple burials last week, and I've got 4 booked for this week, so hopefully it doesn't get too serious, but it's not very good. So I think that's about all I have. If there's any questions.
Any questions for Kevin? If not, thanks very much, Kevin. We'll move on to the financial report. Lyndon?
Thank you, Bruce. Fran, the Director of Finance, had updated our financial statement. So it's in front of you, and it also shows some proposed budget numbers. Our revenues have come up a fair bit, and you can see that in the actual amounts received in the left column at 145,000 up at the top. Revenues, we're budgeting for slightly more than that with the proposed increases that are going to be in front of us here today. Expenses really held the line. There's been some changes with more full-time benefits, for example, less part-time salaries. We're proposing to still have some part-time salary, but outside of that, really, it's been an on-budget kind of year, and our expenditures have been tracked throughout. Now, for the budget for the next year, really, our expenses aren't looking to increase too greatly either. We've moved some things around just depending on some of the different activities we have. If there's any questions on, the budget, the financial statement, and where we're headed, please ask, and we'll attempt to answer.
I could just make one comment. I know our burial, the digging fees are going up. Jim was talking to me a couple days ago and mentioned that he's going to put his fee up. He hasn't done it in a few years, so but I think it's like I think 175 to 200 or something. It's not a big deal. I can't remember what he charges exactly.
Right. Yeah, and that would be accommodated by the budget then, what we have.
It's not a big increase, but he mentioned that he wanted to put them up a little bit. So just so you're aware.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Any questions on the budget? Nothing major in the proposed expenses, with the exception of the new column there. Okay. We will need a motion to approve the operating budget and capital budget report.
Bruce, I need a motion to accept the financial report too.
Okay, we'll do that first. Thanks, Bonnie.
I move we accept the financial report.
Okay, thank you, John. Seconder? Do we have a seconder for the financial report?
I'll second it if I'm allowed to. I don't know if I am or not.
I will second that.
No.
Okay. Anybody opposed to that? Hearing none. Approved. Okay, any other comments regarding the operational budget or the capital projects? Could we have a motion to approve that budget?
I'll move, we approve the budget.
Thank you. Seconder? Seconder for that motion?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Miles. Any objections? Hearing none, we'll move on to the 2021 proposed cemetery fee schedule.
Thanks again, Bruce. I should have mentioned under capital projects that we are including a sign out at the cemetery offices this year, to note that it is in fact a cemetery office. The sign isn't as visible as it could be, and we're branding with the new signs. That's another item that's going up. There's a fence also going to go up between the new quad or fourplex that is beside the cemetery building, just to keep it safe. It's a turning area and there's heavy equipment in the yard. So a fence will go between the two properties. So those are the two other items in terms of new things happening out at the cemetery. But moving on, in terms of paying for operations and sustaining our operation, there's a 7.5% increase that's recommended. And this was the example that's in front of you today. It was 10% last year. This is moving closer to being more sustainable in terms of our costs. It does put us in that, still in that middle group of fees of cemeteries that we compare ourselves with. And basically, the numbers are in yellow, and Bonnie's done a great job showing what the increases would be based on this projected 7.5% increase. It is the amount that's reflected in the proposed budget as well, in terms of the amount of revenues. So it's across the board. If you want to discuss specific items, Kevin can probably help, and Bonnie, in terms of what they mean and how much we use them. But they do bottom out at the budget lines that you already saw, and the specifics are in front of you in yellow. So I'm not sure if there's questions on rate increases and what we're proposing to do. We're looking at increases each year. This is 7.5, and Bruce, I think that's about all I can explain.
Thanks, Lyndon. Any questions?
So we're not under any restrictions as far as what we can. Like, you've taken 7.5. Where did that come from? Or like, as opposed to 6 or 5 or 10, I don't know. Just a question.
10 last year, and we looked at projecting out some 10s to 5s. And so really this literally split the difference between 5 and a 10% increase. We know cost of living was around that 2%, with salary increases to 3. So the 7.5 wasn't as severe as it was last year, and again puts us in the middle, the high middle of the pack of comparative rate fees that we've got. It's a COVID year. It's for discussion by the board. We thought it would be the best example of an increase that does, again, cover costs better, make us more sustainable as an operation. We've been talking to finance quite a bit about that, and I introduced it last year, Miles, really just to explain finance would like to see, levy or user fee-based system in as many kinds of programs and projects and operations that we can. We're nowhere near that, but this actually sees us as getting closer if we make these kinds of increases that aren't too severe.
Any other comments or questions?
I just had a question for Kevin, because he deals with the people that are coming there to the cemetery. What feedback we get?
As far as pricing,
Yeah.
I haven't heard any complaints or any comments one way or the other. No, nobody's said anything really.
Okay, so like
ridiculous.
personally, I don't think it's out of whack, but that's me, but you know, there's other people that, you know,
Yeah. No, and I think it's good that we're going up in fair percentages each year. I know I did get a call from Heritage Funeral Home in Palmerston wondering what our fees were and how much we go up a year because the Moorfield Cemetery, they hadn't put an increase in like 10 or 12 years, and they almost double it, and he thought that was just ridiculous, which I agree is to do in 1 year is a lot. So it's a lot easier to just jump a few dollars every year and keep up with the pace kind of inflation and prices and try to get a little bit more sustainable. So I think this is a nice rate for this year, and the prices still aren't ridiculously, they're not out of whack at all. For even just Elmira is quite a bit more than we are. So, and when you get to the cities, they're a lot more. So I don't think they're bad at all.
okay. Thanks.
Yes, I know from previous years, we had always had the list of what our neighboring municipalities were charging, and we've certainly been right in the middle until now. So I think it's a good idea to keep it going up gradually rather than go for a big increase all at once.
Yeah, no, I think that's smart as far as budgeting, doing a little bit each year. It's when you have to try and catch up at the end of the day that's not popular.
Any other questions or comments? If not, could we have a motion to approve those proposed fee schedule?
Where's Joan?
I move that we accept the proposed fee schedule.
Thanks, Joan. Seconder?
I'll second it.
Okay, thanks, Miles. Okay. Moving on to new business. Do we have any new business, Lyndon or Bonnie?
I don't have any new business.
Yeah, I only wanted to mention the other projects that we were working on. There's been some other operational issues in terms of a tractor breakdown that was significant last year, and we had to replace one of the lawn machines, a similar machine. Operationally, it's gone extremely well. There's parental leave for Amber, our cemetery operator that is shared back with Public Works in the winter and then off to cemetery in the summer. She's done a great job in terms of just knowing the operation better and being a responsible individual that can substitute for Kevin when Kevin is away as well. Full-time staffer was a great switch for us, and that we're looking forward to Amber coming back and that system working out well in the months and the years ahead.
Okay, there was.
Seems like a good worker.
For sure.
Yep.
She's excellent, and she knows what she's doing, and she's keen, and no, it's been really worked out well. And we did this summer when instead of hiring a student, this summer we purposed another individual that was with the library part time and got laid off back in June or maybe April, I'm not sure when. So then we got him working here to fill in instead of having a student, and that worked out really well. And he stayed with me right till we shut down in November, till the snow came. And as far as I know, I'm hoping he'll be able to come back again next summer, at least till Amber gets back. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but hopefully, I know he's back to the library a little bit, but he's still not getting a whole lot of hours there. It's only a day, I think a week maybe. So hopefully that works out again, because that really worked well, and it saves a lot of training. And he's in his 30s, so he's responsible compared to having a student. So that's working out right now with Amber being off. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Hey, thanks, Kevin. There was one issue that came up at our meeting last year, was the ownership of the cemetery on Lot 4, Concession 6 in Wallace Township. Staff was going to look into the matter that we don't have a deed for that property. Has anything further been done on that?
Unless Bonnie can surprise me with saying we investigated something there. I know I did not take a double look into that property. Kevin, maybe we can make a point of doing that and getting back to the board by email in the next couple months to see what we've got for legal ownership.
Okay,
No, I haven't did anything yet on it.
I'll,
I haven't forgot about it, just haven't got anything done on it yet.
Yeah.
oh, okay, well, we'll talk about that and we'll note it in the minutes as an action item and then we can get back once we've got some more information.
Yeah, well, it's not a problem. It's being maintained and everything, and it's one of those ones where the tombstones have all been moved to a central location in the middle of the lot. But it's just the fact that we did notice a couple of years ago that we do not have ownership. Right? Okay. Any other new business?
I have nothing.
Okay. Moving on then, next meeting, I guess probably at this point, we will just leave it hanging. Does that work out right with everybody till we see what happens to COVID?
I'm in agreement, Bruce.
Pardon me?
I'm in agreement.
Yeah, I think at this point, that's the only thing we can do. And then if something comes up, we can call a meeting and handle it that way. Does that work for everyone else?
It does here, yep.
Works good for me.
Okay, that's good. Okay, I think that's it, unless someone has anything else they'd like to bring up. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I can do that if you like.
Thanks.
I'll adjourn.
Okay. Do we need a seconder for that motion, Pat?
Yes, please.
I'll second that.
Okay, thanks, Joan. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
thanks, everyone. Stay safe.
Hopefully the next time we'll be able to get together, but time will tell.
Exactly.
Thanks, everybody.